am Anub'arak. I ruled once before. I shall rule again.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. It's a start to the new year, and what better way to start things off better than a video on our favorite bug boy himself, Anub'arak. Yes, that Anub'arak. The once king of the Nerubians up in Northrend, who had been killed and twisted into one of Ner'Zhul's strongest champions against his will in the War of the Spider. Only to be struck down by us not once, but twice in the icy realm of Northrend. I suppose he was also struck down 3 times since he died the first time to Ner'Zhul and his undead armies. Anub'arak was quite integral to Arthas's rise to power as the Lich King, and while this was against his will, controlled by Ner'Zhul, as I've said multiple times, to make the Scourge remain ever bountiful and ever constant, when Illidan tried to destroy the Lich King up during the aftermath of the Frozen Throne, or the Third War rather, he was still a valuable asset in that conflict in Icecrown against Illidan, aiding Arthas in reaching the Frozen Throne against many of Illidan's forces before it was too late. Anub'arak had been successful in this endeavor, and Arthas would become the Lich King, of course, ultimately from this journey and effort. But as stated, Anub'arak would die in his kingdom of Xal'Atath, and again beneath the grounds of Tyrion's Argent Tournament after being revived by Arthas the Lich King to deal with us once more. Once again to meet his end. So Anub'arak died, never to return, so how and why do we propose such a thing for him to come back? Personally, I've often felt, much like Prince Xal'atath, who had also been wasted twice and killed twice within the Burning Crusade, and, he was made into a villain and killed and, betrayed his own people and died for a demon and power and blah 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 blah. Maybe not that last bit, but it's quite similar still. Anub'arak had also met a very aimless end with very little applause, and my own opinion, of course. A primary issue in Warcraft has been this killing for killing's sake of very iconic and popular characters, just because, with almost no build-up and gratification for that character. Fortunately, this does not need to be the complete end and permanent end for Anub'arak. It's been quite proven an undead can be raised again and again, and we've seen them given second chances for the likes of Illidan, Xal'atath, Lady Vashj, and many others, so nothing is really stopping Anub'arak from the same, I think. Have the Desolate Council or the Ebon Blade whip up their necromantic mastery to bring back the King of the Nerubians some way or somehow. If it's been done before, I believe it can be done again. Perhaps it could even be a dark force that intends to use Anub'arak for evil, but it's countered and Anub'arak vows to stop Xal'atath in enslaving his kin or transforming them into corrupted monsters. Realistically, I've wanted such a storyline for Anub'arak since Sylvanas began to recruit the likes of the Valkyr or the Sand Lane into the Forsaken's ranks. Once the Nerubians even served the Forsaken in the conflicts in the Plaguelands against the Dreadlords, but we've not seen them really in the Forsaken's ranks since then. Anub'arak never had the chance to free his people, avenge his people, or take down the Lich King, who had enslaved him and his entire kingdom and, well, people. Instead, he was used as a tool again and again, a tragedy in his own right, but still never given that proper spotlight that so many others had in taking down the Lich King, or facing off against the Scourge. As for the why, or the why now, I suppose, besides giving Anub'arak a proper arc and story that would make me and other Anub'arak fans happy, we could perhaps use a guide or an ally against these new Nerubians up in, or rather below, in Aj Kahet. And maybe Anub'arak could be that ally and main face for the Nerubian faction, or Nerubian rebels, and be that guide being this ancient Nerubian king that he is. Maybe he knows something about this other Nerubian kingdom that others don't. Notably, the Nerubians, at least up in Northrend, did not worship the old gods nor the void. Instead, they valued themselves as a collective and rejected the notion of worshipping gods that did not benefit them in the slightest. It's honestly such a rare occurrence that never really gets brought up in spite of the fact that the old gods were the ones that gave the Nerubians life in the first place. Nerubians themselves, if not Anub'arak, could make for an able-bodied allies against Xal'atath and her forces, with their own beliefs against the Void and the Old Gods. At the very least, the Nerubians up in Northrend, I suppose. We could also meet some Nerubians against this whole thing, kind of in that new zone in Xal'atath, but still, I think it'd be cool to have Nerubians of old up in Northrend help us. This could ultimately culminate in Anub'arak freeing the Nerubians from the shackles of Xal'atath and the other void entities that was creating them under these new edicts and transformations, perhaps leading them down a better path after their queen has been vanquished. And depending on who raised Anub'arak, perhaps he could find a new life as a leader within the Ebon Blade, or as a representative on the Desolate Council or something else entirely. I know, Horde bias coming in, but it would be cool to have Anub'arak as a member of the Horde in a way. While he could very well earn his rest and earn that happy ending as well, I could also see him seeing a lot of work needing to be done, and he could at last live a life of freedom beyond just the veil of death. Either being a leader of his people through undeath, or a champion of sorts maybe. I mean, I'm kind of okay with them retiring Anub'arak after he's fulfilled his purpose just as well. Just as long as he gets that, awesome spotlight that he's well deserving of. It's simply an idea that I've sat on for a while now, and with the relevancy of the Nerubians and War Within, with the new Nerubian kingdom of Xal'atath, and potentially even in Last Titan to the return of Northrend, I believe now is the perfect time to give justice to one of my favorite leaders of the Scourge, Anub'arak, and simply give him a massive role that he was meant for. If this is the era of correcting the many wrongs in Warcraft, in this World Soul Saga and beyond, then perhaps it would be wise to start with some of the classic characters who's desperately needed some attention for oh so long. And if not Anub'arak, I hope at the very least we get a new character who carries on his values and traits in this saga of sorts. But what do you think? Do you think Anub'arak should be given yet another chance? I think so. And you should let everybody know in the comments and elsewhere if so. Spread that word. Spread it around. Make people know that we want Anub'arak back and done properly this time, But be sure to share, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. Follow me on the Twitter, join us on the Discord, we talk about all sorts of stuff and things, we'd love to have you. And if you like me enough, you can support my Patreon like these amazing folks here. But until next time, my friends,